Tommy Daniels here, Around the ECHL, brought to you by our friends at True by Hilton, one of our great partners this year. And joining us is the very popular, distinguished-looking voice of the Wichita Thunder, the one and only Jason Miles. I got to give you credit, man. I like that new unshaven look for you. I don't think I've ever seen that because you're always pretty – clean shaven and stuff, but that's a good look for you. You definitely look like, hey, my name's Vito. I'm from Chicago, man. I'm a Bears fan. Looks right? I mean, am I wrong?
I don't like wrong. Sorry, Tommy, I don't like the look, and I don't know where you got that I'm popular, but no, I need to shave. Thank you.
First of all, you're very popular. Fans there love you. All but 1 year since I've been broadcasting games, you've been the voice of the Wichita Thunder. 1 year, year one, Steve Schuster was there, right?
Yes, sir. He was here in 2010-11.
Yeah, and I remember going to that old building, which I love, by the way. That was I think that was one of the best games I've been a part of. It was a 1-0 game on New Year's Eve, 2009, going into 2010. And I love that building. Only called one game in there. Tell me about it, because I know you obviously have spent a lot of time in that building.
Yeah, when I first got here to Wichita, it was 2004, and we were playing out at the Kansas Coliseum. It definitely has a lot of character. It's not the same as it was back then. They've actually turned it into a testing facility for Wichita State University. So if you go over there, you would not see any seating in the bowl. No, it would look unrecognizable to you. But it definitely was one of those arenas where the fans were right on top of the players. We used to have a group that would sit behind the bench, and because the glass was so low that they could almost touch the guys on the opposing bench, and they would get them so upset. We won the most annoying fans in the league award like 8 years in a row. So
it was either you guys or the Brahmas.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. But I miss that arena. The only thing about that arena I didn't like was, some of the amenities, the luxuries, having the internet, for instance. We didn't have hardline internet up in the press box, so we had to wire a router down low to get internet for Wi-Fi. So that was certainly not the best case scenario back when it was my first year.
You know what, though? When I went into that building, it reminded me of Will Rogers Coliseum over in Fort Worth, some of the older buildings, in the old Central Hockey League, obviously the old building in Oklahoma City, which is still there. The Barons played there, obviously, when they were there a few years ago. But those buildings that to me, that's hockey, right? I mean, those old school barns, every building had a certain smell, too, when you walked in. You knew exactly where you were, right? I mean, I remember there was a distinct smell of old nachos and whatever, rotten jalapenos at the old building, the Will Rogers Coliseum. But every building had that scent, and you felt like, oh, man, this is hockey. This was great. And I remember, and thank God I got to do one game in that building, and that was the one and only, because we played one of the last 3 games. I can't remember if it was 3-2. I know it wasn't 1, so it was either 3 or 2. Of the last games that you guys played in that old building, because I remember I said, well, the next time you come to town, you're going to be going to the new building. I was kind of disappointed, even though you've got a great facility. Everybody loves going to Wichita. My friend, or my intern Ryan, said it's his favorite building in the league. So you guys have a great facility, but I got to admit, I miss that old barn.
Yeah, I do too. I think a lot of the fans do. One of the things that you don't get in the new building that you do in the old one was the way the sound would reverberate.
Yeah.
Off steel up top. I mean, it would sound 10 times louder, even with less fans in it, as opposed to the way the building is now. So it definitely had a lot of character, but at the same time, I do like having something that is right in the heart of downtown Wichita.
And something else we talked about earlier, Miles, man, we got to get Fort Worth back in the league. I missed the promise, not selfishly. I missed that 45-minute drive across town to go to call a hockey game. The game's over at 9:45 and you're back home in Allen by, 10:45. It was a lot of fun, but there was something about that small building too, right? I mean, they had such a home ice advantage. They knew every bounce coming off the boards, where it was going. And I still said Dan Wildfong built his team, around that building. He had players that were perfect for that facility.
Don't they have a brand new arena in downtown Fort Worth too?
They do. They have the Dickies Arena, which is downtown. It's right by Will Rogers Coliseum over there in the stockyards. But the Brahmas, or the Lone Star Brahmas, now in the North American League, they're still playing obviously at NITEX. And say what you will, people used to criticize that building, but you were right on top of the action there. I'll never forget the night whenever we were playing the Brahmas. It wasn't a playoff game, but it felt like it. And ceremonial puck drop, they sent their tough guy out. We send Derek Mathers out, and it was like it was a fight right there during the ceremonial puck drop. Right, they dropped the gloves, and boom, there they went. And it was amazing. Those are things that I miss. About the early years of the team, but just talking about old buildings kind of made me think about your building. Sometime when I'm there, if I ever get there again, we've got to take a drive out there, because I don't remember where it is in town. I just remember it was kind of out in the outskirts of Wichita.
Yeah, it's about 15 minutes north of the city. It's actually on the way to where I take my daughter, because she lives just west of there. So it's right off the highway. There's I want to say stockyards, and
yep.
They used to do a huge farm and ranch show out there. I don't know if they're still doing it or not, but it definitely is something that I miss for sure.
Well, you talked about your daughter Hannah, who's been such a big part of your life, and it wouldn't be a Wichita Thunder game, at Intrust, if I didn't see Hannah running around the building. How's she doing?
She's doing well. 12-year-old, you know how that goes. I mean, you
Yep.
had a daughter, so it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but she's staying healthy, which is good, and
Yep.
she's just getting gearing up for softball.
Let's talk about the Wichita Thunder. You guys are off to a great start, Mal's 9-3-1. And, I remember the one night when you lost to Rapid City, and I sent you a message or talked to you after the game and said, how'd you guys lose that? Because you guys were playing so well, and you just said, hey, we lost to a hot goaltender that night. That was the story. But talk about your season. Everybody's got to be just thrilled there. You've got some good young players, which I'm going to bring up in a moment, but what a terrific start for you. And of course, one of my favorite coaches in the league, the guy they call Rammer, Bruce Ramsey.
Yeah, first touching base on that game on Friday, it was a 1-0 game going into the third period. They scored with about 5 minutes left and then scored another one right after that. Our coach didn't feel like we played all that well throughout the game. I thought we had a decent second period, but unfortunately we gave them way too many opportunities. We had power play chances, and our power play has been our weak spot right now, special teams wise. Haven't been able to find our rhythm on special teams in terms of the power play. But overall, like you said, I think fans are cautiously optimistic. I mean, the Thunder have only made the playoffs 1 year since joining the ECHL. So there definitely is a little bit of that. Well, we like what we have. Why can't we win all the games at home kind of attitude? And we're going to be playing a ton of road games coming up. So, starting on Wednesday down in Allen, a place that we've traditionally struggled in, and then going to Utah after our week against you guys. But I think it's a good start. Coach wants to make sure that, these guys stay level-headed and make sure that, this is something that is consistent throughout the course of the season, and it's not a first 15 games, and then we fall off the map.
Well, we know Ramsey always has a good offensive team. That was the case when he was in Tulsa. So it's no surprise at what you're doing right now. You guys from the American Hockey League that are playing very well. McMahon, has got 16 points. Green's got 10. Hoffenmeyer's played well, is also a good young D-man. Talk about those guys from Toronto that have come in and really given your lineup in your roster a boost.
Well, first, as most people know, in the ECHL, the Toronto Marlies, Toronto Maple Leafs are affiliated with Newfoundland. And if it wasn't for the current atmosphere of everything going on, they would be up in Newfie. Unfortunately for them, they weren't able to play this year. And that helped benefit us because our coach and our GM had some connections with the Maple Leaf organization. They reached out to us and said, hey, we're looking for a spot to place our players. And at the time, we didn't have any prospects from Bakersfield. because Bakersfield sent a bunch of their guys to Europe to start the season. So we ended up getting them after the first game of the year in Tulsa on December the 11th. And they've come in and been four of our best players. Noel Hoffenmeyer, like you said, a good young defenseman. I think he's coming into his own. Still adjusting on the power play. He's been quarterbacking most of the time for the first unit, but the other three guys have really led the way in terms of scoring. Like you had mentioned, Bobby McMahon, he's one of our most consistent players, one of the fastest guys on our team. And then Gordy Green, who comes from the Miami University of Ohio. What are they, the Red Hawks now instead of the Redskins, I think. So been pleasantly surprised by the way they've been able to play. We haven't had traditionally a lot of luck with affiliated players since we've had the two affiliations with Edmonton and Ottawa. Unfortunately, the depth wasn't there, and we got guys called up, and they didn't end up staying. But that's been a little bit different so far here in the early going with these guys from the Maple Leaf organization.
Jason Mallows, the longtime voice of the Wichita Thunder, joining us here as we go around the ECHL. We like to feature that team that we're going to play, this upcoming week, and we'll see Wichita 3 times, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday here. It sucks when you're not here. I mean, you're my best friend in this league, and we've had we know each other's families well. You know my story, I know your story. So I hate it when you're not here, and I'll miss being up there as well. It's half the fun is getting a chance to chat with you before the game and talking about our different rosters, who's in, who's out, who's playing well, what's going on around the league, and let's talk about the conference here just a minute. We're looking at different setups this year in the league as opposed to the Mountain Division. We now have the Western and Eastern Conference, which makes 100% sense, right? I mean, that's what you need to do. You can't have one division with 2 teams and another one with 6. That just doesn't work. I mean, you've got to balance it out that way. Take a look at our conference here. Kansas City has been playing better of late. They've started to get their game going a little bit. What do you think of our conference overall as a whole? And you would assume it would be the top 4 teams in each conference that make the playoffs. How do you see the top 4 starting with our conference right here in the West?
Well, first I want to talk about the teams that have played, because Fort Wayne hasn't touched the ice yet. I think the top of the division is certainly really strong. We haven't played Utah yet, so I don't know much about their team, but it seems like they're having a pretty good start to the season. You mentioned Kansas City's made a ton of changes to their roster, and they're starting to pick things up. A little bit surprised by Tulsa falling off because I know they had a pretty good stretch where they won, 6 in a row or something like that, and they ended up getting swept there by Kansas City. I think it'll be very interesting to see how this weekend unfolds. We were supposed to play you guys a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, with the commissioner's exempt issues that both teams ended up having, we had to postpone those games, and those have not been rescheduled yet. But it's going to come down to the wire in this division. I think that the top 5 or 6 teams all have a chance to make the playoffs. And then, like I mentioned, Fort Wayne hasn't played yet, and you look at their roster, I think they look pretty strong on paper, but you never know when these 2 teams come together how they're going to be before they gel and get on the ice. But they're certainly a team I think that's going to be reckoned with if you look at some of the talent that they have on their roster.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. And in this year more than ever, things can change very, very quickly. You lose a couple players here or there. Like for us, we went through a stretch of 2 days where we lost both starting goaltenders and our top 2 scorers at the time. So you got to expect that, though. I mean, it's we knew they were here for a short time. You enjoy them and try to put together as many wins as you can while you have those guys. But I think that the real key to winning and coaching, and Steve Martinson, who won the GM of the year last year, this is why he won it. We haven't missed a beat. We played 10 straight games on the road, and we just finished that stretch at 8-2, including taking 2 out of 3 in Utah, and could have won that 3rd game. We were in it in the 3rd period. So credit goes to him for putting together and finding a Justin Capelmaster, and then calling Jake Patterson, who was just about ready to sign in Europe, and bring him in. And he's played so well here since he's come back to Allen. That's the key. You got to be a good recruiter out there. You've got to be able to sell. Why should I, go to Wichita? Why shouldn't I go somewhere else? Because they're free agents, right? They can go wherever they want to in the league. You really have to have a good GM that can sell your program, sell a winning program, and then first and foremost, find that guy who's going to fit in your lineup and not cause any disruptions and still be able to, keep winning.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Going back to the goalie situation, we lost Mitch Gillum about a week and a half ago. He's been out with illness, and Evan has come in and he's played 5 straight games for us, and he's been outstanding. He unfortunately gave up those 3 goals on Friday, but like I said, it was a 1-goal game with 5 minutes left. But other than that, he's been rock solid, and him because he ended up you guys, and we acquired him from Allen in a trade last year. So he's been a good find for us as a backup. I don't know if I want to say actually a backup. I mean, him and Mitch Gillum could rotate for all I know. So, and then we signed a guy out of the SPHL that had played in his first game, and he was really good on Sunday against Rapid City, Hayden Levine, as a backup, at least for a stopgate to make sure that we had somebody that, could stop some pucks before hopefully Mitch comes back this week. But yeah, getting back to your point, I think that's definitely very important, especially at this level. You got to fill your roster in with depth, and those ECHL contracts certainly account for that. It's certainly a different time with the way everything is turning out. Who knows what's going to happen when the American Hockey League starts?
Jason Mel's the voice of the Wichita Thunder as we go around the ECHL. Okay, speaking of goalies, boy, you led this perfect into where I was going. Stuart Skinner, he played in 3 games for you guys last year, the primary portion of the season. He was in Bakersfield, but gets a chance to play in the National Hockey League the other night and gets the win for Edmonton. I mean, how proud are you? Here's a guy. I know how I felt when Aaron Dell finally made it to the NHL, and that was pretty awesome. But you got to be pretty proud of what Skinner has done and getting that opportunity in the NHL and getting a win.
Especially for a kid at his age, he's only 22 years old. He's the first. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all right.
He's the first guy to make it to the NHL out of our system since we've joined with Edmonton. That was drafted by the Oilers, started in the ECHL, and made his way up. Like you said, he only played 3 games for us last year. They wanted to get him some work before he ended up going back up to Bakersfield, and he hadn't played a game since last March. So, I mean, you're asking a lot out of a rookie to come into the lineup to spell Mikko Koskinen. And, for the most part, I thought he did pretty well. He saw a ton of shots. He made 33 saves in that game. It's certainly really cool to see a guy that you worked with make it all the way to that level, like you had mentioned, Aaron Dell. And I haven't had a chance to reach out to him yet, but definitely proud of him, and hopefully he can stick up there. We've had a couple of guys make it to that level, but not been able to stay at that level, like a Jack Rodwald or a Tyler Bunds. But I think Stuart Skinner certainly has an opportunity if he can improve on a couple of things. And like you said, just proud to see him in the net the other night.
Well, we know Edmonton, they the one thing that's been kind of their bugaboo for the last several years is finding that number 1 goaltender. Ken Hitchcock said that on his way out the door, and now they're still searching. Mikko Koskinen, he's been there, but he hasn't really been that lights out goaltender that they've been looking for. So we'll see. I tell you, we're rooting for Skinner, because anytime you can have a guy that started in our league and can work his way up, much like an Aaron Dell did for us, and a Jordy Ben who started with us in year 1 and then, wound up in the NHL. It's always pretty special. All right, last thing for you here, buddy, because I know you're working. It's Super Bowl Sunday, right? I mean, this is the weekend, and my heart is broken that my Buffalo Bills are not there. But to be honest, losing to the defending Super Bowl champions is not such a bad thing. I think you take steps along the way. And in last year, they They made the playoffs, right? That was a good thing. They lost to the Houston Texans. And this year they were hungry. They came back. They made it to the AFC Championship game. I think there's something to be said about taking those steps and learning. And, I'll compare it to us, our first year. We went to the finals year one against Rapid City, lost in 6 games, and man, did that hurt. But I'll tell you what, it made me appreciate how hard it is to get there. And when we were finally able to win, it feels sweet. And I remember sitting there in that building that night and watching, Danny Bottaccio and Scotty Ray and all those guys celebrating down there on the ice. And I thought, man, I wonder what that feels like. I'm a guy from Buffalo. All I do is throw beer cans against the wall after we lose the game, right? But it was a good learning experience, I think, for my young Bills this weekend. Kansas City against Tom Brady. And you say what you want, whether you like Brady or not. You got to give the guy credit. He goes to Tampa Bay. They haven't been in the Super Bowl since like 2003 or 4. It's a long way back. In one season, Brady on the road wins in Washington, wins in New Orleans, wins in Green Bay, which may have been the toughest of all, and is now playing the Super Bowl in his home stadium. Give me your prediction, Miles. What do you think is going to happen on Sunday?
Well, I mean, you're asking a lot, and I know I'm not considered a football guy per se, but it's hard to bet against Tom Brady. But Patrick Mahomes is playing by far the best at any quarterback in the league. So to see those two on the same field, I think is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be dependent on whether or not, Tampa Bay can slow down that Kansas City offense. And on the other side of the ball, if Kansas City can get pressure on Brady, I think it's going to be difficult for him. The two teams played a very tight game earlier this year. I'm going to have to go with Kansas City by 4 points is going to be my pick.
All right, Mels, I love it. Thanks for doing this as always. I wish I was seeing you this week. I hate that flag in background there. You're better than that. You're a Blackhawks fan. I don't know how you allow that to happen. A New York Rangers flag in the back. Give me a break.
Well, when you see Ed this week, when he comes up Friday, make sure you give him a hard time, or else, what I can do is I can sneak it in his bag, and then you can take it away and then throw it in the trash. We'll do that. No, Ed Bailey is a great photographer. He's been a photographer for the Thunder for a long time. He's a good friend. And I guess we'll cut him some slack there. We'll allow that Rangers flag to stay in the background. And don't shave. I'm telling you, I like that look. You should change your name to Guito Mals. I like it. You almost look. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
Nope. You.
I was going to say, if my mom found out you said that, she would kill me.
Well, she probably would kill me because I'm the one enticing and asking you to. The most important thing is, what does your daughter Hannah think? Does she like it or not like it?
I don't think I've ever asked her about that. Maybe I'll ask her when I get her later.
All right. There you go. Well, hey, thanks again for always doing this. Always love catching up with you. Good talk. I enjoyed reminiscing about the old barn there in Wichita and some of the old days in the CHL, and I'm sure we'll do this again very soon.
Sounds good. Good luck this week.